Well, good morning, everyone. Who enjoyed that extra hour of sleep? Anybody? Yeah. I met a sweet couple in the parking lot who forgot about it, so that was fun. They were like, we never miss that. I like this church a lot. This is my first time here. Those of you who have sacrificed to get in this building, because you don't just open up church doors. Many of you sacrificed to be here. Way to go. This is unbelievable. I evaluate churches, and I speak about every weekend somewhere, but I evaluate churches based on their friendliness, and you're already off the charts. Okay, I haven't met you yet, okay, but I've met the staff here, and they're unbelievable, and I know it's top-down leadership, but so I'm guessing you're as friendly. And I evaluate churches based on the songs that they sing that involve clapping. Because I don't like songs where you clap, and right now you guys are at 0. They might sing later, I don't know, but part of the reason I don't like that is I suffer from a disease. This disease is called rhythmic impairment. Okay? And what the rhythmic impairment means is that you can't sing and clap at the same time. Now, we are in the minority. There's not very many of us in here. I'm going to guess we're about 10 with this size of a group here. But if you would honestly admit you can't sing and clap at the same time, raise your hand, be known. These are my people. These are my people. And for the rest of you, keep your hands up, because I'm letting the rest of the people, leave them alone. Because you all walk in like, oh, I can't wait to worship, and you just, oh, it's going to be so great, I can't wait. We walk in sweaty, stressed, wondering what the song selection's going to be, because we'll start, like, I'll look down the row and I'll clap with people till I got it. Then I look up to the screen to start singing, and it's like I'm having a seizure. It's terrible, all right? And some of you in here, you've got rhythm. And you do a great job with that. Now, today we're talking about a relationship, and for many of you in here, you have rhythm in your relationships. You're like, you do relationships easy, you do them well, solutions come quickly to you, you just gel in marriage and parenting and friendships. It's just not the majority of us in here, okay? For most of us in here, we are relationally impaired. We have high maintenance relationships. Today we're talking about marriage. It was funny to see my picture up there with marriage expert above it. I'm so glad my wife's not here today to actually see that title, because that's a little intimidating. But in marriage, no one would ever claim it was easy. I saw this meme this week that I thought was pretty fun, and I thought I'd show it to you, that behind every woman stands a man who has absolutely no idea what he did wrong, okay? I mean, think about marriage. You take one sinner, you combine them with another sinner, and then they have sinnerlings, and there is bound to be some excitement in that thing, right? Now, let me just expose everything here. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage. No such thing as a perfect marriage. But all of our marriages can be healthier. And here's the deal. When a marriage goes bad, that person's life actually begins to unravel and disintegrate. Think about it, those of you who are married. When you're struggling in your marriage, you don't wake up in the morning and go, good morning, God. Rise and shine and give God the glory. You don't do that. When you're struggling in your marriage, you don't have a pep in your step. I mean, you're just struggling all day long. Your marriage actually impacts your parenting. Little Billy's mom has a tough time teaching little Billy about grace when she can't show little Billy's dad grace. And it's impossible for Tina's dad to teach little Tina about forgiveness when she's holding a grudge with little Tina's mom. See, at the core, why your church? I mean, you just moved into this beautiful building. Why would you stop and talk about marriage? Because at its core, this is a discipleship issue. See, I wrote a book called Helping Churches Help Marriages, and we studied a lot of churches that have vibrant marriage ministries, a lot like yours. Those of you in the orange shirts that are part of, what do you call it, Reengage? Just a church like this, okay? A church like this that helps marriage. What we found in our research? Churches that care about marriage, here's what happens. Their people are happier. They're more generous with their time and their finances, and they actually take more courageous faith steps. That at its core, marriage is a discipleship issue, because when the primary relationship of male and female is not working, nothing else seems to be working in that domain. So regardless of whether you're married here, you're single, you're widowed, you're divorced, there's something for you today. For those of you who are single, you're thinking, I should have taken another hour sleeping in. I mean, like, why? I'd rather be at Chuck E. Cheese with a gaggle of 5-year-olds hopped up on crack, than be here right now. And what I want to say to those of you who are singles, don't check out. Don't check out, singles, because the majority of you actually want to get married. Marriage is the norm in our society. About 90-95% get married. Now, if you are married, don't check out. Because statistics are not good that your marriage will last. Do you know the divorce rate in the country is 50%? In California, it's 60%. In Orange County, it's 72%. 72%. Would you get on a plane if you knew it had a 72% chance of it crashing? I don't think so, all right? So what I want to do in my time together is I want to walk through, let me just give you 3 things. I'm going to take marriage a little different angle than maybe you've heard it before, but 3 kind of what I would call biblical actions that are seen in a healthy marriage. First is this, is that marriage needs to be honored by all. I mean, this is something all of us can do. Marriage needs to be honored by all. This basically means that you would talk highly about marriage, because there are just too many negative messages in our world today about marriage. Now, I don't live in North Orange County. I live in South Orange County, where sin starts and makes its way up here. But where I live, I was at this little mall called Fashion Island. I was at the food court, and I had my headphones on. I had my notebook out, my Bible. I was working on a message, and I heard these 4 ladies behind me talking about their church. And I could hear them talking because I just had the headphones in just to distract myself. Actually, when you see a pastor with headphones in, they're not listening to music. They're eavesdropping, okay? Because we're always on the lookout for a sermon illustration, all right? Brian, am I right about that? Absolutely. Always in need of an illustration. And these ladies are talking about their church, and I thought, oh, that's cool that these ladies get together and talk about their church. And then they started talking about their marriage, and it went ugly quickly. And then one lady said, oh, you've been through a lot this year. He'll never change. And I wanted to come unglued and just jump on that table, because if you are a follower of Jesus, and I'm not assuming everybody in here, some of you are checking this out, you're investigating, you're dating someone who's forcing you to be here, you're visiting, whatever, you came for that little free plastic cup that we gave you a few minutes ago, whatever reason you're here, I'm thrilled that you're here, and I think you're going to get something out of today. But if you are a follower of Jesus, we can't believe that people won't change. I mean, we believe that Jesus died and rose. He defeated death to give new life into dead things, right? That's actually, we just sang a song. We believe you will move mountains. So what do we actually believe? We believe that God can change a idiotic, selfish husband. And we believe that God can change a nagging wife, a constant drip of a nagging wife, okay? Like the lady who was sitting behind me at that food court. We actually believe that. Now, in the book of Hebrews, this is just a small book toward the end of the New Testament. The last chapter is chapter 13. So what the author does is you read the whole book and you come to kind of the summary, chapter 13. And it says big stuff like keep loving one another as brothers and sisters. Don't forget to show hospitality to strangers. Continue to remember those who are in prison, those who are suffering. And then it says this in verse 4. Marriage should be honored by all. Okay, see, I stole this material. I steal pretty much everything I teach from Bible, okay? Because Jesus has a lot to say about relationships. So what he's saying is that marriage should be honored by all. Think about this. This is in the context with all the biggies. Love one another, be hospitable, care for those who are suffering, and marriage should be honored by all. Let me put a definition on the screen of what honor means. Honor means to esteem it as highly valuable. That all of us in here, we can lift this up, marriage, because it's God's idea, it's God's design. Every person, single, married, widowed, divorced, it doesn't matter. You can talk about marriage being highly valuable. Now, my kids are all in their 20s. Got married relatively young because we talked about that as they were growing up. But there's the millennial generation, Generation Z, who they're scared of marriage. They're frightened of marriage. They don't want to get married because what they've seen and they've heard. And they need to hear that marriage is God's idea. Marriage is God's invention. Sex, there he says it. Sex was God's idea. It wasn't invented by some caveman named Bob in the Middle Ages, all right? Sex is God's design. So singles need to get this message. I say, when I get the opportunity to talk to singles, I go, guys, you see somebody that you're attracted to, or you're attracted to her heart, or whatever it is, personality, ask her out. Use your voice. Okay, quit texting and Facebook and sending cute emojis. All right? Be a man and use your voice. There's a generation that's even older than me, and you've heard of it. There's some here, I can tell by the hair. And you've heard these stories, like when these guys, they were attracted by somebody, they would just walk right up and ask them out. They weren't afraid. Why? Because they survived World War II. All right? I mean, they knew what pain and fear was. I stormed the beach of Normandy. I can ask her out. I lived in the jungle for 2 weeks with a rock and a chest hair. I can do anything. I tease my younger generation friends. They just need to experience a little bit of pain. My kids, I said, the toughest thing you've ever gone through is like going on vacation without the internet, right? For an hour, right? I call them the bike helmet generation. Raise your hand if you rode a bike and you didn't have to wear a helmet. Yeah, you weren't. These are the real Americans right here, right? Because when we fell off our bike, what happened? We suffered minor brain damage, right? And then we had to get up and just shake it off, all right? So here's what, those of you who are millennials or Generation Z, here's what I want you to hear. Marriage is good. It's great. It's God's design. So date, fall in love, and then honor God with marriage. Now people say, I don't think I'm old enough. I don't know when I'm. Do you know that in the last decade the average age of marriage has moved from 22 to 28? People just aren't getting married at a younger age anymore because a lot of what millennials will say is, I'm just not sure when I'm an adult. Now, let's be honest, it can be a little confusing, right? Because according to Bear Aspirin, you're no longer a child at age what? 12, right? And to drive, you're no longer a child at age, and to vote, you're no longer a child at age, and to buy alcohol, you're no longer a child at age, and to rent a car, you're no longer a child at age 25, right? And to buy a ticket on American Airlines, you're no longer a child at age 2. All right, so I understand it's confusing. Somewhere between 2 and 25, you are an adult. Oh no, I'm an adult when I'm financially independent. At which point there's very few adults in this room right now, okay? So whether you're married or not, you can honor marriage. And if you are married, let me pivot to you. If you are married, what does it mean to honor your spouse? Okay. I wrote a book called 7 Ways to Be Her Hero, the one your wife has been waiting for. Okay. I wanted to call it, Guys, How to Get All the Sex You'll Ever Want. But the publisher said, women buy books for their husbands to read. So it's called 7 Ways to Be Her Hero, the one your wife has been waiting for. And do you know that none of those 7 ways is make more money? None of those 7 ways is to go on fancier vacations. That to honor your spouse, gentlemen, to honor your spouse, ladies, it shows up in actually very, very small ways. I recently read an article out of the University of Georgia on human relationships, and it was saying they interviewed a bunch of marriages, and it came down to couples that were healthy use the word thank you. Isn't that simple? That they express gratitude. I found this book. Ladies, you'll think this is funny because it's called Porn for Women. And this is and I mean, I want you to notice how simple these are. Okay, let's take a look at them. I'll just show you a couple of them. I found someone to take my tea time again this weekend so I can spend more time with you and the baby. Okay, just a simple way. Have another piece of cake. I don't like you looking so thin. Okay. You look stressed. Let me make you some tea and we can talk about it. Chamomile, okay? Okay. Oh, look, the NFL playoffs are today. I bet we'll have no trouble finding parking at the crafts fair, all right? So, to honor one another actually shows up in those small acts of service, in the small ways of saying thank you and how we treat one another. Social science has come out with a recent phrase. I think it's interesting. In my notes, I'm just reading it straight to you. The happiest, most satisfied couples are the ones who make daily decisions to honor one another. Secular research, what's interesting, is that secular research in social science is discovering what the scriptures have taught for thousands of years. Okay? That marriage needs to be honored by all. Here's the second thing all marriages need if you're going to be healthy is marriage needs to be enjoyed. Okay? Marriage needs to be enjoyed. God did not give you your spouse to beat you down so that you will look more like Jesus. Okay? Now, there's actually a whole stream of thought in the Christian space that basically that's what it says. Marriage is about making you holy. Okay? And I don't disagree with that. I've been married 32 years. I think I resemble Jesus more because I've been married to Kathy. But marriage doesn't just make you holy. I think actually marriage can make you happy too. Is one of the themes in the book of Ecclesiastes. It's a book in the Old Testament where the book basically shows you how to avoid a meaningless life. Because, when you're dead, there's not a lot of time to enjoy life on earth. But Ecclesiastes says this. It's up on the screen. It says, "Go eat your food with gladness and drink your wine with a joyful heart, for it is now that God favors what you do." Read the next 5 words with me. "Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun." Seems a little depressing. But that word meaningless in the Hebrew, which is what we get in the Old Testament, the Hebrew can be translated the word fleeting, F-L-E-E-T-I-N-G, meaning this, bam, life moves by fast. So enjoy life with your wife. Guys, you don't have to choose life or wife. You can have both at the same time. Your spouse is not to grind you down, but to accompany you through really the grinds of life, because life is not easy. I enjoy marriage. I love being married. My wife today chose playing the grandma role this morning instead of coming to church with me, which is fine. So I brought a picture of her, and this is Kathy. We've been married 32 years, and I have started a club. Right? I have started a club. I'm the president. It's called Married Out of Your League. Okay? And I met Brian's wife today, Shannon, and Pastor Brian could be vice president. That's for darn sure, okay? By the way, gentlemen, how many of you could apply for my club? Let me see your hands. Yes. Okay, this dude right here, your hand shot up quick because you're very intelligent, right? I'm looking around. Some guys are like, I don't know. I think we're both kind of an 8, No, guys, that was like a soft toss, easy win, all right? It's like, I'd rather be married to Kathy than anyone in the world. And the great thing about her is she's put me in her top 7. So so marriage needs to be enjoyed. I'll tell you, the quickest way to enjoy marriage is to do what you did before you got married. Quickest way to enjoy marriage. Do what you did before. Because what happened before? Remember before you got married? Everything was romance. No, you hang up. No, you be the last to talk. I don't even know. I'll stay up all night. I'll listen to you breathe as you fall asleep, okay? right? It's the romance, it's the pursuit, it's the court, it's the fun, it's the passion. Then you get engaged, and then you step across the line to marriage, and that romance turns into routine. And if you're not careful, that routine moves you into a rut. And that rut, all of a sudden, you wake up someday and you just realize you're really nothing more than roommates. See, I believe that most couples don't understand the power of dating, that they need to date one another, I believe, on a regular basis. Why? Because without dating on a regular basis, here's what happens to your marriage. Your marriage begins to drift. All marriages have drifts. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage. All marriages experience a drift. But a healthy marriage has what's called a course correction. That's what marriage is. It's just a series of thousands of course corrections. And that weekly intentional date. I mean, you could Google date night initiatives, and people who study relationships, Christian and secular, will say that the primary way to get your marriage back on track, to enjoy your marriage, is to date one another. Because a date is a weekly course correction. Okay? If you need dating ideas, Pinterest. Okay, it's just, seriously, it's kind of embarrassing when your wife catches you on the computer looking at Pinterest because you just type in dating ideas and there are thousands of them. All you got to do is just pick one and make it happen. Now watch this. When you enjoy marriage, it's a lot easier to honor marriage. Okay? And when you honor your marriage, it's a lot easier to enjoy your marriage. These work hand in hand. Now, the third thing that I think all healthy marriages need is that marriages need to be prioritized. Now, this is going to bother some of you, and that's okay because I don't go to church here. This is going to bother those of you who prioritize your parenting over your marriage. See, marriage needs to be prioritized. Here's what the scriptures say in Genesis 2. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is what? United to his wife, and they become one flesh. In the Hebrew, united is a word for intercourse. Okay, two become one. You are one in God's eyes. You're not one with your child. Your children are eventually going to leave. Bye-bye. Okay, all of my kids moved out, and we helped them. Okay, but here's what's happening, especially in Orange County. I mean, it's big in South Orange County, so I'm sure it's making its way up here, is what we have, what I would call kid-centric homes, where your kids are the center of everything. And mom and dad have made life all about them. And then what happens, kids don't want to move out, and the parents don't want the kids to move out, because when they do move out, there's nothing left. See, to prioritize marriage, you put your marriage above your kids. Now, to be totally honest, we've been parents for 28 years. Kathy and I didn't do this 100% the way, in reflection. I think there were seasons when we look back now, we talk about those were disobedient times in our life. We were disobedient to God. Because you know what? It's easier to invest in your kids than it is to invest in your marriage. In the long run, I think we did a pretty good job. But here's the deal. If you build a strong marriage, those empty nest years will be amazing. Raise your hand if you're in the empty nest years. Okay? Yeah, mostly happy people. Okay? Because here's what happened. Kathy and I were smart enough to know that those empty nest years was just going to be her and I. And we anticipated that and made a commitment to our marriage. Now, when non-empty nesters hear about empty nesting, they always ask the same thing. It doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter if the United States and other countries talking about marriage. People say, empty. So do you just run around the house naked all the time? That is like the universal thing people say, which I think is so weird. Okay, that's actually what I've been waiting for. Unbridled nudity. Okay, no. I didn't need to wait for my kids to move out of the house in order to do that. I've been doing that since they were little. That way they don't bring their friends over. Okay? It's all very, very strategic, all right? But if you have what I would call a kid-centric marriage, here's the question. Is there going to be anything left of your marriage when the kids are out. There's a new phenomena out right now in the marriage space called the graying of divorce. Graying, G-R-E-Y, like gray hair. Bowling Green University put out a study that said just 20 years ago, divorces over the age of 50 were 1 in 10. Today, they're 1 in 4. Okay. It is a shame. And it's a shame because we've got all these parents that want to be really, really good parents, and they focus on their kids, and when the kids are gone, nothing is left. Now, I can sense from some of you, you're not liking this. There's some pushback, and you're even thinking, well, maybe I like my kids more than you like yours. Okay. First of all, no, you don't. Okay. You can't prove that. And secondly, I would say this. Moms and dads, if you really do love your kids, do you know that the greatest gift that you can give them is a solid marriage? Do you know what a solid marriage does for the soul of a child? It's like a security blanket. It's like mom and dad are going to be together. There's peace, there's safety, there's joy, and you actually set a model for what marriage is going to look like for them. I mean, you working on your marriage is maybe the greatest legacy that you will leave behind for your family. And for those of us who are people of faith, there's just too much at stake not to. Because all research points to the fact that children of divorced Christian parents walk away from the faith. Okay? The Journal for the Study of Religion says this: children of divorced Christian parents are more than twice as likely to leave the church. I mean, it's staggering to me that 60% of children of divorce walk away from the faith. Why? There isn't really good answers. Here's my hunch. My hunch is because, mom and dad came to church every Sunday. Mom and dad promoted God's love. Mom and dad pushed them into Sunday school. But apparently God's love wasn't strong enough to keep mom and dad together. And the hypocrisy is just too great. Okay? The Washington Post has an article called Why Decades of Divorce Have Eroded the Faith. So why should Crosspoint help marriages? Because this is a discipleship issue. We care about the next generation. We're mandated to pass on our faith to the next generation. We want to help kids walk in the ways of Jesus, and they're much more likely to do that if mom and dad stay together. Does this make sense? Yeah. So what am I asking you to do? Okay. Well, I'm asking you to apply all three of these to your own marriage. That you would honor marriage, that you would enjoy marriage, and you would prioritize marriage. If you're single, I'm asking you to make these your values for marriage, that you would honor marriage, that you would enjoy marriage, and that you would prioritize marriage. I think you have a world-class church here. I mean, your staff is pretty amazing, but do you know with all these people here, your staff can't meet the needs of all the marriages here? And some of you in here, you're sitting on a pretty good marriage. It's not a perfect marriage, no such thing. It's a good marriage, and you've learned some lessons along the way through a journey of pain that in that message and in that marriage, you could help. You're the first line of defense before they get to the pastoral staff here. Some of you in here, if you just raise your hand and say, you know what, we'd go out to lunch with somebody once a month. We'd share about what we've been through. We'd love to mentor a younger couple. I mean, some of you in here, you ought to join the marriage movement that is happening here because it's happening in this church. That's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to honor your marriage every day. Now, what does honor mean? It means to esteem it as highly valuable. So I'm asking you, ladies, every day, what does it mean to esteem my husband as highly valuable? Men, what does it mean to esteem my wife as highly valuable? That's what it means to honor them. To enjoy your marriage is to date weekly. Now, some of you guys were not good on the last raising of hands, so I'm just going to give you a heads up on this one. Ladies, you can play in this one too. How many of you would say that your marriage is worth 1% of your time? Just 1% of your time, okay? Yeah, some of you are still not playing. That's right. I would say, yeah, your marriage is worth 1% of your time. Here's the thing we all have in common. Now, we have different socioeconomic backgrounds. We have different, ethnicities here. But one thing we all have in common is 1,440 minutes a day. 1,440 minutes a day. Actually, today, I guess we got a little extra, didn't we? We got another 60. But we got 1,440 minutes a day. It's what we have in common. 1% of that is what? 14 minutes and 40 seconds. Let's round it up to 15 minutes. What if you honored one another 15 minutes? You enjoyed one another 15 minutes every day. TV's off, phones away, knee to knee, eye to eye, and you're honoring one another. It's scary that we can't do that for some of you are like, I don't even know what to say, Okay? But we walk our dog for 30 minutes, right? Okay, now 1% of your week is an hour and 40 minutes. Hour and 40, you know what that is? That's a date. That's a date night, date day, date lunch. I don't care when it is. It could be date at home. It's just an intentional time together to stop that drift. That it's a course correction. That's what I'm asking you to do, to enjoy your marriage and to prioritize your marriage. For those of you in kid-centric marriages, that you repent of that. That you look at each other and go, you know what, we're committed to everything our kids do, but we're not committed to our time together. And you flip a switch on that, and you begin to prioritize your marriage. And people immediately they get all like, what are we going to do with the kids? 2 words, duct tape. All right? No, you can figure that out. As a matter of fact, if you leave once a week to go out on a date, maybe when they're little, they're going to cry at first, but then all of a sudden they're going to feel this sense of security that mom and dad, they care about their marriage. They enjoy one another. And one of the best gifts that you can give your kids is a good marriage. Now, for those of you who've experienced divorce, your relationship is not where it should be right now, I don't want you walking out of here feeling guilty and shame because, we just celebrated communion. We worship God who says this, if anyone is in Christ, anyone, he or she is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. For some of you, you are dwelling in your past. And the problem with dwelling in your past is you're not living in the present. And Jesus said, follow me. Follow me, meaning let's keep walking. Jesus didn't say stop and dwell and just die in a little pile of your past. No, he says, follow me. Let's move on. You're forgiven. That's the beautiful thing about the church. It's why we celebrate communion. It's why we gather. We're forgiven. Forgiveness is not just a theory. It's a reality where our sin collides with God's forgiveness and love and leads us to healing and grace and hope and restoration and a second chance. So what do we believe in? We believe God can breathe new life into dead things. We believe that Jesus can restore what was dead. We believe that Jesus can bring joy into the midst of sorrow, that Jesus can change your life today and tomorrow. So I want to challenge you as a brother in Christ to honor marriage, to enjoy marriage, to prioritize marriage. How many of you think you can do at least one of those? Let me see. All right, now we're playing.